The story opens with a man in a hoodie, walking down a filthy, poverty-stricken street. Studio apartments line the area, cramped and noisy, the kind of place where arguments are background noise. Two men bicker openly, one of them even spitting on the other's shoe as they argue about getting a job, calling each other random and useless. Above all of it, the protagonist calmly narrates that this neighborhood of tiny studio apartments is always loud and disgusting. This miserable place is his home, a 180-square-foot rooftop apartment that barely qualifies as living space. He pulls down his hood, sighs deeply, and resigns himself to ramen for dinner again. Bro is broke just like me. In his hand is a cheap packet of instant ramen, because he is in survival Minecraft mode. This is where we're formally introduced to our boy Bong Joo-hyuk. He's 25 years old, officially unemployed, yet ironically juggling 3 part-time jobs, working as a convenience store cashier, a waiter at a barbecue restaurant, and a day laborer. Despite all that grinding, he explains there's a simple reason he can't save any money, because he is in debt. No matter how miserable he lives his life, paying the debt off comes first. As he prepares his ramen, his narration continues. He admits he has no special skills, nothing remarkable about him except a healthy body. There's no bright future waiting ahead. This, he says bluntly, is the life of a pathetic loser, just another loser barely scraping by. But then, he notes, this ordinary miserable day is exactly when everything changes. Out of thin air, a blue system panel suddenly appears in front of his eyes, displaying his name, Bong Joo-hyuk, and announcing that he has awakened. The glowing notification shocks him completely. Still distracted, he takes a bite of the steaming ramen, instantly burning his tongue. He curses out loud, muttering what the hell just happened, while staring at the system window in disbelief. Awakening? He questions it. He explains that awakening is something people call a blessing, a jackpot that can flip your life upside down overnight, a stroke of luck rarer than winning the lottery. But there's a catch, you have to stay alive to enjoy it. Entering the tower is deadly. You can be torn apart by monsters, frozen or burned by extreme environments, poisoned, crushed by traps, or killed in countless other ways. Those are just some of the ways people die inside the tower. Because of that, Bong admits he's avoided confrontation his entire life. He does everything he can to stay away from danger. He is a loser and a coward, someone who's lived cautiously just to survive. And now, suddenly, he's awakened. Doubt creeps in immediately. He wonders if this awakening is even real, or if he's just so exhausted that he's hallucinating. Desperate for confirmation, he shouts for his status window. Another system panel appears instantly, listing his profile. His affiliation is Black Tower Korea. He's level 1. His trait is listed as Summon, Concurrent Summon, with an empty catalog. Skills include Designated Summon, Random Summon, and Unsummon. Seeing all this makes it impossible to deny, it's real. He reaches out to touch the screen, but his hand passes straight through it. His heart races as he realizes this isn't a dream. Still, confusion remains. His trait is Summoning. He explains that all awakened individuals are granted a trait, abilities that come in many forms: swordsmanship, spearmanship, shield arts, archery, martial arts, gigantification, slashing, summoning, healing, and more. Advanced summoning can involve spirits, familiars, golems, or demonic beasts. Summoning allows a summoner to utilize specific categories of summoned beings. Bong questions himself about what kind of summoner he is. Deciding to test it out, he extends his hand forward like a hero in a movie and activates his skill, calling out for a summon. Nothing happens. He tries again with random summon, but still nothing. Then it hits him. Skills don't work outside the tower. He explains that a player's abilities can only be used inside the tower. Outside of it, aside from checking their status window, awakened players are no different from ordinary people. It's common knowledge. Feeling stupid, he mutters that there's no way a skill would activate outside the tower. Right then, a system panel appears, stating that random summon has been activated. Shock ripples through Bong as purple light begins to gather in front of him. The energy condenses, shaping itself into a human form. In the next second, a man materializes from the light. Bong stands there, drenched in sweat, completely stunned. He can't understand why it worked. He's not inside the tower. He stares at the summoned being and questions internally, is he actually a person? Bong's mind spirals. He didn't summon a spirit or a golem, he summoned a human. Then something even stranger happens. The summoned man smells the ramen. The scent drifts into his nose and his attention locks onto the bowl. He points it out immediately and asks if he can have just one bite. Bong, still overwhelmed, agrees. The summon digs in, gulping down the noodles in one go. Slurp after slurp, he demolishes the ramen, commenting that it's spicy and hot but continuing anyway. He says the company must have release a new spice flavor. Bro is just like me, I am also a ramen lover, comment down if you also love ramen. Meanwhile, Bong internally judges him as a one-bite moocher who can't even handle spice, noting that the ramen is mild. Despite the absurdity, Bong's confusion deepens. How did his skill activate outside the tower? And why has he never heard of a human summon before? He immediately calls up his status window again. The panel explains his summoning ability in detail. He can summon humans and demi-humans. Summons are divided into tiers: R rank, rare SR rank, super rare SS rank, Special Super Rare and LSSR. Legendary Special Super Rare. The summoner and the summon can communicate freely under all circumstances. Bong compares it to pulling characters from a gacha game. Another system message appears, explaining the 3 rules governing summons. First, the summon must protect the summoner's life above all else. Second, the summon must absolutely obey the summoner's orders. Third, if the first and second rules ever conflict, the first rule takes priority. Bong pauses on that, absolute obedience. He admits it actually sounds pretty nice. Naturally, his next question is obvious. Who exactly did he summon? The system panel answers by opening the summon catalog. The summoned man's name, John Kosak, the mad assassin of the Cruel Assassin Guild. His rarity is SR rank, super rare. His type is assassin. Human manifestation duration is 6 hours. Satisfaction rating is listed as none. Resume cooldown is 3 hours. The narration reveals that John Kosak is both the greatest asset and the biggest headache of the Cruel Assassin Guild. Despite his madness, his mission success rate is an insane 99%. He even managed to assassinate a 5th Circle Warlock, and that is where his legend and his end begins. Our protagonist suddenly clutches his head as a violent rush of information floods his mind. Before he can even process what's happening, his eyes widen, his consciousness slipping into a trance, and in the next instant, his body, or maybe his soul, teleports elsewhere. He finds himself in another place entirely, watching John Kosak, the assassin, pass right by him. The protagonist feels nothing, like he's just a ghost watching history replay itself, as if he's witnessing John Kosak's past through a VR device. John Kosak charges straight into battle, rushing his enemies and cutting them down in an instant. The protagonist can't help but wonder if this is Kosak's past, but then another thought slams into him. Is this guy insane? Because after killing them, John doesn't stop. After beheading his enemies, one after another, and then calmly ties ribbons around their severed heads like a gift wrap. At that moment, the realization lands. So this is why he's called the Mad Assassin. Then we get to know John Kosak's end. His downfall comes from a single fatal failure. His final target was someone absurdly powerful. John enters a room to carry out an assassination, dagger in hand, confident as ever. But the target turns out to be the Empire's strongest swordmaster. In one brutal instant, John Kosak is cleaved clean in half, his upper and lower body flying in opposite directions. Bro got the Gojo treatment. Watching all this, Bong finally understands, this was Kosak's last memory. The vision ends, and suddenly John Kosak appears behind Bong, asking what Bong is thinking about. Startled out of his mind, Bong falls backward on his ass. John apologizes, saying he was just wondering if Bong had any orders for him. Bong is still shaken, having just witnessed the assassin's past and his psychopathic habits, but he remembers what the system said. A summon must absolutely obey the summoner's orders. Taking a deep breath, Bong steadies himself and starts issuing commands. He tells John Kosak to wash the ramen pot. John does it instantly. He tells him to wipe the table clean. Done instantly. Bong is stunned. The guy is insanely fast, doesn't complain, and carries out every order without hesitation. Testing the limits, Bong nervously asks if John would really follow any command, even something absurd. John replies that he will obey any order from his summoner. Then Bong issues the command to John, bark for him like a dog. John's face darkens and there is a moment of silence and the air heavy, like what will this madman do? For a moment Bong panics, thinking he went too far. This was a powerful man in his past life, surely he has pride. Did he just snap? But before Bong can spiral any further, John suddenly drops to all fours, walks around him like a dog and starts barking. Bong gives a thumbs up, internally thinking this guy is genuinely, absolutely obedient. That's when loud knocks slam against the door, snapping both of their attention away. Angry shouts echo from outside, calling Bong by name and demanding he open up. Bong curses internally, realizing he completely forgot today was the day the loan interest was due. The knocking gets louder and more aggressive. Bong quickly orders John Kosak to get up and stay alert. As Bong narrates internally, he recalls how everything went to hell. He had to borrow 10 million won but banks wouldn't lend him shit. The only option left was an illegal loan shark. The money was for his father's surgery after he slipped on ice and fractured his hip, and for his younger brother's college tuition. He had no choice. He thought he could pay it back quickly, but he hasn't even touched the principal. He's already paid over 5 million in interest alone. He knows it was stupid, but even if he could go back he'd make the same choice. But my question is, what was his father doing to slip on ice? The knocking turns into threats, the voice outside saying they just want to see his face. Bong turns to John Kosak, who's already holding his dagger, wearing that terrifying psychopath smile, saying all he needs is the order and he'll bring back the bastard's head. Bong shuts that down immediately, thinking this guy would cause an irreversible disaster. He orders John to hide in the bathroom, stay completely silent, don't move and don't make a sound. John calmly asks if he can still breathe. Bong says yes. John nods, satisfied. The door opens, and someone immediately grabs Bong by the neck, mocking him and saying he looks fine. It's a typical thug, his face covered in scars. He says the interest payment didn't come through, so he got worried. Bong apologizes and says he just sent it. The thug warns him not to push himself too hard and casually suggests selling an organ if things get rough. One kidney and all his problems disappear. One of the thug's lackeys jokes about Bong's younger brother. The scarred thug agrees, saying younger ones sell for more. Hearing this, Bong's expression hardens. The thug notices and asks if Bong is looking for a fight. Bong forces a fake smile, acting timid, saying of course not. The thug leaves, slamming the door and warning Bong to watch himself unless he wants to disappear without a trace. As Bong stands there in silence, John Cusack steps out of the bathroom. Bong praises him for hiding perfectly. John simply says he was ordered to. Bong is exhausted. He worked a double shift, accidentally summoned a human assassin, and got harassed by loan sharks in the same day. He wonders if he should really try climbing the tower, but immediately shuts the thought down. The money would be nice, but there's no way a loser like him could survive it. John then asks what he should do next. Bong says he doesn't know and offers to unsummon him if he wants to go back. Raising his hand like a kid in class, John asks if he can watch TV. It's been a while. Bong is confused about how John even knows what TV and ramen is, but shrugs and agrees. John thanks him and settles in to watch dramas. Later, Bong falls asleep while John watches TV. Bong thinks that even if John is a summon, it's not so bad having someone else around. For the first time in a long while, he feels a bit of comfort. He's been working himself to death, completely alone. This feels nice. The next morning, the alarm rings at 8 a.m. Bong wakes up and immediately assumes John has been unsummoned. The duration should have been 6 hours, right? He vaguely remembers a system panel appearing in his sleep. Brushing it off, Bong gets ready for work. Yawning, he notices the TV is still on. The news is playing, reporting breaking news from Jongno-gu district in Seoul. At an office of an illegal private lending company called Smile Cash, 3 victims were found brutally murdered. Bong freezes. Smile Cash? The report continues, saying all 3 victims were found decapitated. Bong drops his toothbrush as the final detail hits. The severed heads were decorated with red ribbons. A horrible realization crashes over him as images of the ribbon-wrapped heads line up perfectly with John Cusack's habits. Bong clutches his head in frustration and disbelief. He didn't summon a companion, he summoned a psychopathic murderer. The broadcast shows the brutal murder scene flashing across a TV screen. Loan sharks who had been tormenting Bong are now dead. The broadcast shows their boss, one finger grotesquely twisted and fractured, proof he was tortured before he was killed. Then it gets worse. The boss and his thug lackeys have all been beheaded, their severed heads neatly lined up, each one wrapped with ribbons like some sick display. It's horrifying, methodical, and way too personal. Cut to Bong, absolutely scared shitless, his mind looping the same thought over and over again. He's screwed. Trying to act normal, he works his shift at the convenience store, but his thoughts won't stop racing. Looking at the broadcast again in his head, he becomes convinced of one thing. This has to be John Cusack. Right at that moment, a voice snaps him out of it, politely asking if he could ring the item up. Bong looks up and in his imagination, he sees the loan shark boss standing there, his severed head talking to him. The head asks him, again, to ring it up, while the beheaded lackeys' heads loom silently in the background. Bong is completely shocked. Then he jolts awake from the daydream. In reality, there's just a woman customer standing in front of him, holding a neatly wrapped gift. She asks if he's okay. Bong hurriedly apologizes and says he'll rizz her up right away. Appalled after his shift ends, he steps outside as snow begins to fall. His thoughts spiral again. He can't keep working like this. Tomorrow, he decides, he's taking a day off from all his jobs. As he walks through the falling snowflakes, he can't stop wondering if the people who died were killed because of him. The scene transitions into the night. Alone, Bong opens his status window and carefully examines the catalog entry of his summon. It lists John Cusack as the mad assassin of the Cruel Assassin Guild. Grade SR, super rare. Type assassin human. Manifestation limit 6 hours. Satisfaction rating none. Resummon cooldown 3 hours. Reading it, Bong can only think that John really is a mad assassin. As his summoner, John won't harm him, but that doesn't stop him from being scary as hell. Bong attempts to summon John Cusack. Nothing happens. Instead, a system panel appears, instructing him to leave a satisfaction rating before the designated summon can proceed. A 5-star rating interface pops up. Bong immediately realizes that this is why the catalog had a satisfaction rating section. Annoyance boils up inside him. He thinks about how he was just watching TV, and John went off and murdered people without being told. For being such a pain in the ass, Bong feels like a 1-star rating would be perfectly justified. That's what he wants to give. But then he hesitates. He decides he can't be that heartless. In the end, Bong gives John Cusack a 3-star rating. The system panel confirms that John Cusack's satisfaction rating has been set to 3 stars. Bong reflects on his past, remembering how his mother used to be a coordinator for a water purifier rental company. He knows better than anyone how crushing a low satisfaction rating can be. Even if he's unhappy, he never gives 1 star. Immediately after, another system panel appears, announcing that John Cusack has been summoned via designated summon. In the next second, John materializes and salutes Bong, reporting for duty and saying it's a pleasure to meet him again. He even thanks Bong for the 3-star rating and promises to work even harder. Internally, Bong is disturbed. John looks innocent and cheerful, and yet this is the same man who killed 3 people. Bong hesitates, unsure how to even bring up the murders, but John invites him to speak freely. Bong finally asks about the men who came to his house the day before, directly questioning whether John killed them. John calmly confirms it, stating that he took care of them last night. The nonchalant way he says it only makes Bong feel worse. Bong realizes that John truly was the culprit, and the person standing in front of him is a murderer. Nausea hits him, his heart racing, and he forces himself to calm down, reminding himself that John won't hurt him, at least. Bong asks how John even knew where their office was. John explains that he planted a tracker mark on those bastards when they barged into Bong's home. Bong is stunned and asks what a tracker mark is, wondering if it's some kind of skill. Then he asks the bigger question, why go that far? John explains that they were a threat, and threats should be eliminated in advance. Bong protests, saying he never ordered John to do that. John reminds him that this falls under the 3rd clause of the 3 principles of the summoner. Seeing Bong's confusion, John explains it simply. Absolute obedience is required, unless the summoner is in danger. That clause allows disobedience for the summoner's protection. Bong tests this logic by asking if John would disobey an order to kill him. John gives a thumbs up and confirms that he would. Still uneasy, Bong argues that there wasn't an actual threat, and that it was John's own judgment call. John agrees, stating that the 3rd clause can be interpreted in many ways. From his perspective, those men would eventually have endangered Bong's life, making his decision perfectly reasonable. Bong panics and blurts out that this way of thinking is psychotic. Immediately he realizes he crossed a line and apologizes. John takes it calmly, saying it's quite all right and that he hears that a lot. Bong thinks to himself that it's not that he doesn't understand. It's that this power dynamic could be extremely dangerous. He imagines a scenario where he's walking down a crowded street with John. If he accidentally bumps into some punk who mouths off with a threat they don't really mean, John might interpret it as lethal danger. That guy would be dead in the next second. Bong bites his thumb, thinking deeply about the problem. Suddenly John kneels in front of him, taking responsibility. Bong is startled and tells him to get up. He speaks firmly, making it clear that murdering people doesn't help him and could land him in serious trouble. John fires back confidently, insisting that no one would ever know. Bong presses him, asking if he'll do it again. John admits he can't promise that. Determined, Bong lays down a rule. Unless there's literally a knife at his throat, John is not to kill people based on mere suspicion. John salutes and responds that he'll use his best judgment. Bong finally exhales in relief. Even so, he can't help thinking that John is being evasive. Still, he tells him it's fine and dismisses him. But John casually drops the question, by the way, has the summoner ever considered climbing the tower? The thought hits Bong hard. He freezes, visibly unsure, his mind spiraling. Yeah, climbing the tower is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the kind people dream about, but fear grips him by the throat. It's dangerous. People die in there. He could die in there. Bong looks at John and hesitantly asks if there were other summoners, people who summoned him before. John Cusack answers honestly. There were. They were strong, brave, the kind of people who charge forward without hesitation. Bong feels shame wash over him. He admits that some people use their awakened abilities to save the world, but he doesn't have that kind of courage. He can't risk his life like that. John starts to speak, calling him Summoner Bong, saying he truly is, only for Bong to cut him off first. He already knows what John is going to say. He calls himself a pathetic coward. And then, in the very next second, John beams at him with a cheerful smile and declares him the greatest summoner of all. Bong's brain short-circuits. What the fudge macaroni is wrong with this guy? John steps closer and asks a question. What is a summoner's greatest virtue? Safety first, always. Bravery is poison. A brave summoner is a dangerous summoner, because you never know when they might die. And if the summoner dies, summoned beings can't come out anymore. Bong finally gets it. John is saying all this because he wants to be summoned more often. John doesn't even deny it. He tells Bong not to worry. He'll handle all the dirty work. Bong just needs to lay low, stay safe, and live a long, long life. Hearing this, something warm passes through Bong, a strange nourishment, the comfort of relying on someone else, mixed with genuine encouragement. The next morning, Bong wakes up exhausted. He couldn't sleep. His head was too busy replaying the same question over and over. Should he climb the tower or not? Who is he to even think about climbing it? He should just be grateful his debt vanished, along with the debt collectors, and move on with life. Standing on his terrace, he decides he'll live safely. He'll work a normal job, or several normal jobs. If he just works hard, everything will get better. Everything. While stretching, his phone rings. It's his dad. Bong checks in, asking if he's keeping up with rehab. They mention transferring to a bigger hospital, but then the real shock hits. His mom got fired. His dad brushes it off, telling him not to worry too much. He only called because he hadn't heard from his son in a while. Bong promises to visit soon. They'll get a meal together. His dad tells him not to push himself too hard. They hang up. Bong lowers the phone, and the reality sinks in. Climbing the tower isn't optional anymore. It's inevitable. The next moment he's fully geared up like a paranoid disaster survivor, baseball bat in hand, safety helmet strapped on, stacked with every piece of protective equipment he could think of. He tells himself he'll just check the first floor. A quick peek. If it's dangerous, he'll leave immediately. It works out anyway. He took the day off from all 3 of his jobs. First comes the summon. Bong hesitates. Does he really have to stick with that psycho John? Can't he try summoning someone else? Who knows, maybe he'll pull a legendary special super rare summon. Bong activates his random summon with high expectations, but reality instantly slaps him in the face when the system panel pops up and declares that random summon is unavailable. The cooldown is brutal, 28 full days, with 11 hours, 8 minutes, and 37 seconds still remaining. In that moment it finally hits Bong that the cooldown isn't some short inconvenience but an entire damn month, and the realization leaves him with 0 options and 0 mercy from the system. Left with no other choice, he goes ahead and summons John Cossack, and just like that, the summon is complete. John Cossack appears and immediately salutes, confidently introducing himself as Summoner Bong's servant and thanking him for the 5-star rating while reporting for duty. Bong, meanwhile, is internally spiraling, thinking he doesn't know that I tried to summon someone else, right? Still, he awkwardly looks away, swallows his confusion and welcomes John Cossack anyway. With his decision made, Bong announces that they're entering the tower. At first, John reacts with excitement, impressed and calling Bong brave for going in already. But that enthusiasm crashes almost instantly, and John takes it back, warning him that bravery is probably a terrible idea right now. Bong reassures him, saying he's not planning anything crazy, just a quick taste of the tower before dipping out. John agrees that it's a wise decision and tells him to ditch all the crude, unnecessary equipment. Once they're inside, John promises to act as his guide and make sure Bong enters safely and stays comfortable the entire time, insisting that Bong won't even need to lift a single finger. Bong agrees without arguing. As Bong prepares to enter, another system panel appears, formally asking whether he wishes to enter Korea's Black Tower and stating that the currently accessible layer is floor 1. Before clicking yes, Bong turns to John, who eagerly asks if they're ready to go. John answers his own question with an enthusiastic yes, and in the very next moment, the 2 of them are pulled into a virtual otherworld dimension, full-on Matrix-style shit. The system panel announces that they are entering floor 1 of Korea's Black Tower. As they travel through the space between worlds, Bong completely loses it, panicking and crying his eyes out, overwhelmed by everything happening at once. In sharp contrast, John Cossack remains calm as hell, holding Bong steady as if this is just another routine trip. Bong and John continue traveling through the Matrix dimension. Their bodies dragged through something that feels less like movement and more like being forcibly rewritten. Bong goes blank mid-process, his mind lagging behind as they're suddenly sucked into something else entirely. When Bong finally regains awareness, he finds himself inside a cave-like structure. The shock hits immediately. This place is inside the Black Tower. As he looks around, Bong realizes the first floor is nothing but a complete wasteland. The realization barely finishes forming before his face turns purple. The next second he pukes. Hard. The violent nausea hits him all at once from the insane transition from his room straight into the tower. John casually checks on him, telling him he'll get used to it soon, like this is normal. They exit the cave, which was a safe zone, and John confidently leads the way forward, telling Bong it's time to move beyond it. As Bong steps out, multiple system panels pop up in front of him. His physical abilities are automatically enhanced to match his level, and traits and combat skills become available. Bong immediately feels the difference surge through his body. Strength, clarity, awareness. It all clicks. He realizes this is what it feels like to be a player. Even at level 1, he already feels pretty damn strong. Another system panel appears, announcing the first floor mission: eliminate 5 tough-skinned fat maggots within a 2-hour time limit. The failure conditions are simple and brutal: death or mission abandonment. John spots the targets right away and casually points them out. Bong realizes that the first floor is designed to test a player's fundamentals. The tough-skinned fat maggots are basically living scarecrows. They deal almost 0 damage, but their skin is insanely tough, making them ridiculously hard to kill. Some players reportedly take 30 minutes just to kill a single maggot. Now a player himself, Bong decides to take initiative and moves ahead, declaring that he'll take one down first. With determination, he steps forward. Behind him, John panics, telling him there's no need to go through all that trouble, but Bong doesn't listen. He plants himself in front of a fat maggot, and then reality hits him like a brick. This dumb fuck suddenly realizes he doesn't even have a weapon. He turns around to get one from John. That's when the fat maggot rises. The massive, grotesque creature looms behind Bong, and he has absolutely no idea. Sweat breaks out as a sense of dread crawls up his spine. When he finally looks back, the situation is beyond fucked. Faced with the terrifying creature, Bong can only say one thing, asking John Cossack for help. John responds with a thumbs up, complimenting Bong on his wise decision. In the next instant, John vanishes and reappears in front of the maggot. With a single blow, he completely obliterates it, bursting the poor thing apart. John doesn't stop there. He charges forward, slaughtering the remaining fat maggots with overwhelming speed, telling Bong to stand back. He uses projectile attacks, unleashing a skill called Blade Burst. Just like the name suggests, the maggots explode one after another. When it's over, John turns back toward Bong. Bong is stunned, completely floored. He can only say that John wiped them all out in an instant. A system panel appears, announcing the completion of the first floor mission. Bong levels up and receives 100 grams of mana stone. Another announcement follows: He has achieved an S++ rank on the first floor of the Black Tower in Korea. As a clear reward, he's awarded a platinum badge. Bong is ecstatic, practically floating on air. This feels way too easy. If things keep going like this, he's going to be rich. But Bong doesn't realize what that rank actually means yet. As soon as the first floor is cleared, messages are sent out. A girl in an office receives one. A girl working out in a gym gets the same alert. A guy in a club sees it pop up too. At that exact moment, every player in Korea receives the same announcement. Bong is then teleported back to his apartment. A system panel informs him that he may now challenge the second floor, and that he has exited the Black Tower. Bong realizes that after clearing a floor, you're sent straight back home. He checks the time in disbelief. It only took 5 minutes. John congratulates him, calling him Summoner Bong, sir. Bong admits that he didn't even do anything. John tells him that's exactly what he was supposed to do. Bong is confused. He had always heard that players were supposed to fight monsters until they were completely exhausted, that clearing floors took forever. But this was stupidly easy. And honestly, it feels great. As part of the clear rewards, Bong receives a crystal and a badge. He picks up the crystal and realizes it's a mana stone, the first time he's ever seen one in person. Mana stones are an indispensable resource in modern industry. Their price has dropped significantly since the early days of the tower. Now 100 grams go for around 50,000 won, considering it's been 20 years since Black Towers appeared across the world. Most basic information about the tower is now common knowledge, even among ordinary people. Bong then examines the platinum badge. He's never even heard of something like it before. Still, the conclusion is simple. He just made 50,000 won in 3 minutes. In the background, John casually turns on the TV and starts watching a drama. Feeling good, Bong suggests they eat. He orders delicious food and the rich aroma fills the room, instantly invading John's nose. John asks if it's hot. Bong assures him it's not, explaining that he ordered regular jokbal because John can't handle spicy food. John insists he smells something spicy anyway, while Bong internally thinks about how disastrously bad John is with spice. John, clearly pleased by the food, says they should dig in and thanks Bong for his kindness in a strangely formal tone. Bong tells him there's no need to talk like that and asks if that's how he usually speaks. John responds in an old-fashioned way, confusing Bong even more. While eating, Bong points out that John keeps using words like a and thigh. John explains that it's because he spent so much time with his previous summoner. Bong realizes it's probably leftover influence. John asks if it bothers him and says he'll stop if it does, but Bong just laughs, saying it only gets funnier the more he hears it. John laughs along with him. Watching John stuff his face, Bong thinks to himself that he's sure of it. John isn't dangerous at all. No, it's more than that. This whole thing feels doable. The scene transitions into the next morning, where Bong is already in grind mode. He pins a rough timetable onto the wall, laying out his daily survival strategy. During the day, he plans to work at a convenience store, and at night, he'll clock in at a charcoal barbecue spot. In his head, the conclusion is simple and decisive. He's done being a day laborer. Instead of wasting himself on unstable work, he'll come home and climb the Black Tower with John. In short, Bong chooses to juggle 3 jobs, but quit the third one entirely, and redirect that time toward tower climbing. To him, it's a flawless plan. At that exact moment, Bong summons John once again. John materializes out of thin air, sharp and composed, immediately snapping into a salute. He casually announces another 5-star rating and thanks Bong for it. Bong, clearly over the moon, admits he's beside himself with joy and says he wishes he could give John a perfect 10 out of 10. John responds smoothly, saying he's glad Bong is that satisfied, which makes Bong pause and ask whether the satisfaction rating really matters that much. John explains that it absolutely does. The higher the rating, the more benefits the summon receives. That includes things like increased summon duration and even rank upgrades. Naturally, better ratings also mean more calls overall. Bong immediately gets it. After some time passes, a system message suddenly appears, announcing that Bong has entered the second floor of the Black Tower. In an instant, Bong and John are teleported there. A mission panel pops up stating the objective: clearly eliminate 10 nimble fat maggots within a 2-hour time limit. The failure conditions are brutal as always: death or mission abandonment. At first glance, Bong notes that these maggots don't look much different from the ones on the first floor. Bong blurts out that the second floor maggots are way trickier because they move constantly. They're much faster than he expected, and he realizes this speed is the true gap between the first and second floors. Bong turns to John and starts to warn him, saying that if John goes all out on the second floor, he might. Before John cuts him off and finishes the sentence himself. Die? Not happening. John grins confidently and declares they'll finish everything in 3 minutes. Pulling out his blade, John says he'll clear it quickly and escort Bong. As John charges into the swarm, Bong casually shouts after him, asking if they should get chicken tonight and maybe some beer too. John, already slicing through the maggots, answers back with a simple thanks. I am loving the bonding between them. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. John unleashes the same blade burst attack from before, completely overwhelming them. Watching this carnage unfold, Bong can only think that the whole thing is absolutely insane. Almost immediately, a system panel appears, announcing that the second floor mission has been completed. Bong levels up and receives a reward of 200 grams of mana stone. Another announcement follows. An S++ rank clear on the second floor of the Black Tower in Korea. A separate system panel adds that the S++ clear reward is a platinum badge. Bong stares at the notification, stunned. Another S++. He wonders if it's really okay for things to be this easy. Everything feels way too fast. With this pace, he realizes he can jump in and out of the tower before his morning shift even starts. Without wasting any time, Bong and John immediately proceed to the 3rd floor. The mission there is to eliminate 10 ice-bloated grubworms. John gives Bong a thumbs up, silently signaling that he'll handle this floor too. True to his word, another system panel appears only minutes later, announcing the 3rd floor mission's completion. Bong levels up again and receives 300 grams of mana stone. Once more, the system declares an S++ rank clear on the 3rd floor of the Black Tower in Korea, followed by yet another platinum badge as the reward. The momentum doesn't stop there. With the exact same pace and efficiency, Bong and John clear the 4th floor as well. Then, without slowing down, they complete the 5th floor mission too. As the 5th floor is cleared, a new system message appears. It announces that Bong has accumulated 5 S++ grade platinum badges. As a result, he has been awarded a perk for reaching that milestone. Bong is visibly confused. What exactly is a perk? The system immediately provides an explanation. A perk is classified as an awakening trait enhancement. Its effect is massive. It increases the number of simulation summons available to the player to 2. In simple terms, Bong can now summon another companion alongside John, officially leveling up his entire existence. The system profile flashes into existence in front of Bong. His name, his affiliation Black Tower Korea. His level has climbed to 6. His trait is still summoning, just like before, but now it's upgraded to concurrent summon. The number is 2, before it was only 1. His general skills include enter tower, once a day, and tower exclusive inventory. Bong just stares at the screen, stunned. 2 concurrent summons? That means he can bring another one with him. Sweet. Inside the tower, John Kosak can already solo every floor without breaking a sweat. And the S++ clear rewards? Absolute top tier. Since this is clearly turning into a long-term battle, climbing the tower like this will be way easier and way safer. Using random summon to summon his other summon isn't an option yet. The cooldown still has over 20 days left, so Bong decides to play it safe. Let's just survive carefully until then. The 3 of us? No, scratch that. While I slacks off, my 2 summons will keep clearing the tower and farming those juicy S++ rewards. We see tomorrow, Bong and John will climb the 6th floor. The scene cuts to Hanamdong, Seoul, South Korea, inside the Korean Awakening Management Department. In a quiet office, 3 people are present, 1 baldy, a man sitting on a sofa, and a woman standing nearby. The man on the sofa wonders when the announcement will arrive. Morning? Evening? Maybe even late at night? The woman steps closer and asks, thinking about the announcement. This man is Guang, a team leader in the Awakening Management Department. The woman is Lee Mina, the department's manager. Guang snaps at her, telling her to stop prying into people's minds. Mina shrugs it off, she just can't help being curious. Guang asks the real question. Has the new announcement arrived? Mina answers yes. It's an S++ rank clear on the 6th floor of the Black Tower Korea. Guang's expression darkens. Lately, Black Tower announcements have been popping up non-stop, and every single one is another unbelievable S++ clear. There's no doubt about it, this is the work of a single person. They're clearing every floor in order, from the 1st all the way to the 5th. If this person keeps going and clears the 7th, 8th, 9th, and even the 10th floor, and every clear is S++, then they're dealing with someone unprecedented. Someone terrifyingly talented. Suddenly, the baldy slams his hands on the table. He's Park Kyung-soo, the director of the Awakening Management Department. He reminds them that the highest rank ever recorded in Korea was only A rank. They only recently learned that ranks beyond A even existed. And now announcements appear whenever someone achieves S++ rank. Player migration has become common worldwide, and kidnappings have already been happening in secret. If they're not careful, Korea could lose this player to another country. They need to find this person immediately. Closely monitor every newly registered player. 2 days later, inside Bong's apartment, Bong asks John Kosak if today's target is the 8th floor. John answers casually while washing dishes. Yup. Bong thinks to himself that they're clearing 1 floor a day without any difficulty. Honestly, the 1st to 10th floors are basically the beginner zone, so this smooth run makes sense. The scene shifts back to the tower. Bong and John are on the 8th floor, where the mission is simple. Defeat 10 red thorn frog warriors. The frog warriors rush toward them, tongues snapping out in zigzag attacks. But before they can even register what's happening, John Kosak imbues his blade with energy and slices through the incoming frogs like butter. An announcement rings out. The 8th floor mission is complete. Bong levels up. The reward is 800 grams of mana stones, plus 5 tower exclusive healing potions. Then another announcement follows. S++ rank achieved on the 8th floor of the Black Tower Korea. The reward is the same as before, a platinum badge. Back at the apartment, John comments that it's another day, another floor cleared. Bong can only reply that he didn't even do anything. John laughs it off. Just entering the tower is already the hardest part. Bong admits that even so, they're able to climb so easily thanks to John. John quickly reminds him not to let their guard down. The floors after the 10th aren't something to take lightly. Bong thinks about it. They cleared the floor in 3 minutes again. Should he give Kosak a reward for all his hard work? There's still plenty of time left in the real world, so Bong pulls out his wallet and offers John some cash. Why not go out, eat something good, have fun, just don't cause trouble? John immediately refuses. Bong is confused. Why not? John explains calmly. Summoner Bong, I can't leave your side. I'll just watch TV at home. Bong realizes that the principle of absolute obedience doesn't apply here, so Bong makes another suggestion. How about ordering chicken? John instantly lights up. That sounds good. He turns away, fully committed to his imaginary chicken cosplay, and starts ordering on the phone, requesting very specific flavors. Not spicy, honey cheese butter, sweet something or other. Yeah, that one. While John handles dinner, Bong checks his rewards. A tower-exclusive healing potion. He figures he should probably give it to John. But then there are the mana stones. He already has 3.6 kilograms sitting in his inventory. That's about 1.8 million won if he sells them. Maybe it's time to start cashing in. Day 10 arrives. Bong prepares to climb the 10th floor and realizes he should probably quit his part-time jobs. He originally thought he'd just dip his toes into the tower, but they've been clearing one floor every single day. Yesterday, even the 9th floor boss, the jungle cannibal corpse flower, was a complete breeze. Clearing floors is basically guaranteed now, and the S++ rewards are just a bonus. Bong imagines himself in a suit, raising a glass of champagne and a toast to John Kosak. How sweet. No, wait. Is he seriously forgetting that John Kosak is a crazy assassin who's murdered 3 people? Bong activates his designated summon to call John Kosak, but a system panel appears instead. John Kosak's satisfaction evaluation has reached 5 due to continuous accumulation of maximum scores. His devotion time is increased by 1 hour. Bong blinks. Oh, it really was worth giving him the highest score. John Kosak is summoned again, instantly making a heart shape with his hands like a real-life Korean idol. He thanks Bong and says he can now serve him for another hour. Bong tells him he'll be counting on him in the future. John replies confidently, "You can trust me." Together, they step into the 10th floor of the Black Tower, Korea. A system panel flashes into existence announcing that Bong Joo-hyuk's physical abilities have been forcibly readjusted to match his current level. Traits unlocked, combat skills now available, and at the same time both John Kosak and Bong stand safely inside the 10th floor's safe zone, and Bong immediately feels it. Now that they're on the 10th floor, his body is different, stronger. The tower having completely recalibrated him as raw physical power surges through his veins alongside a mysterious magic pooling low in his abdomen, sending his thoughts spiraling as he wonders, so, have I, Bong Joo-hyuk, become an untamable wild horse? And in his imagination, he literally sees himself as a feral, majestic wild horse galloping across open plains, unrestrained and unstoppable. And fueled by this delusion, he boldly turns to John Kosak, and declares that from now on he's going to help in battle, only for John to shut that down instantly, basically saying, "Hell no, your ass is way too weak," and that if by some freak accident Summoner Bong even gets scratched, he'd have to kill himself. Dead serious. But still trapped in wild horse mode, Bong confidently replies, there's nothing to worry about because he's already a wild horse, which John absolutely does not buy, as he insists Bong's cheers and praises are more than enough support. And that's all he needs, some urban legend level confidence right there. Yet Bong refuses to back down this time and starts to protest, saying he absolutely has to. When suddenly the ground shakes, Bong turns his head, and a massive eye is staring straight at him, belonging to a monster, not just any monster but a very monster that resembles a gigantic grasshopper radiating pure menace. And Bong instantly realizes this is the 10th floor monster as sweat pours down his face and a terrifying thought crosses his mind. How the hell did the other players even catch something like that? So knowing his place, he mutters that having both of them go after bugs like that feels a little demeaning to human pride. To which John calmly responds that he doesn't see why his pride should be hurt at all. Bong immediately disagreeing that no, it hurts his pride, a lot. So instead Bong switches tactics and suddenly transforms into a full-on cheerleader, hyping John up like a cheergirl and yelling encouragement like, "You got this, Kosak," causing the grasshopper monster to absolutely lose its shit as it launches a massive attack looming over John with overwhelming force. But in the blink of an eye, John dashes forward running straight along the monster's limb with eyes filled with pure murderous intent, and in the next second slashes the grasshopper apart, as zigzag cuts rip through its massive body, carving it into pieces, after which a system message appears announcing the 10th floor mission is complete. Bong has leveled up and receives a reward of 1 kilogram of mana stones, followed by another announcement that Bong has achieved an S++ rank on the 10th floor, and as a reward receives another platinum badge. John landing gracefully and declaring with confidence, "Mission complete, I say," as a new system panel appears informing them they may now challenge the 11th floor and the 2 exit the Black Tower. Bong doing mental math that an additional 1 kilogram of mana stones brings his total to 5.5 kilograms, and with 5 platinum badges obtained again, that means another perk is coming. Right on cue, a system panel appearing stating Bong has been awarded a perk for accumulating 10 platinum badges as excitement builds, while he anticipates what kind of broken ability he's about to receive, only for the next system panel to explain his new perk. He can copy one skill from his summon. As a list of John Kosak's skills appears, blade burst, shock break, despicable ambush, poison dagger, shadow step, confusion, stealth, invisibility, polymorph, and the system asks him to state the skill he desires, shocking Bong as he realizes he can really copy one of John's skills, while John doesn't hesitate and directly addresses him as Summoner Bong, saying without a doubt he must learn Shadow Step, leaving Bong confused with a huh? As John continues that the skill copy option popped up, right, so no questions and no arguments, he has to learn Shadow Step, period. And when Bong asks why, John instantly answers that it's convenient for running away, so even if something happens to John, Bong can escape secretly and quickly. Bro really just called him weak. Bong processing this in silence. Run away? Wondering what kind of person John thinks he is and whether he really looks like the type who'd abandon everything just to save his own skin, only for the very next second to contradict every heroic thought he just had by selecting Shadow Step, the system panel confirming it as Shadow Step learned and registered in his status window, John clapping for him while Bong immediately starts justifying himself internally that even in combat quick footwork is extremely, very truly important. Isn't footwork the key to a good fight? Maintaining a dead serious face while thinking this, later wondering if the skill will work in real life and trying to activate Shadow Step inside his apartment, where nothing happens and he just runs around like an idiot while John casually watches TV, Bong eventually collapsing onto the floor exhausted and crying out that if they're going to make summoning real they should at least make the skills real too because there's no consistency, and what a load of crap. John looking at him and replying that he's not sure what Bong is saying but he's right, bro's loyalty on Zoro level. As the scene shifts to day 11 of the tower climb with Bong visibly flustered on the phone with the Awakening Management Department as the call connects, and the representative introduces themselves as the call center. Bong nervously introducing himself as Bong Juhyuk and stumbling over his words as he explains he called because he had an awakening. The caller reacting with excitement and congratulating him while saying they understand he must be confused and asking if they may send government representatives to his house. Bong starting to share his address only for the caller to cut him off, thanking him for his cooperation and saying they'll arrive as soon as possible. And after the call ends, Bong sits alone completely drained as Bong Juhyuk, average citizen, has contacted the Awakening Management Department to sell his mana stones, the most courageous decision he's made in 25 years. As the scene transitions to Mina walking toward a black car with Gwang inside asking if she's here and questioning manager Mina about the awakened individual from Daegu who contacted them yesterday. Mina replying that it doesn't seem like that person is behind the S++ records. Gwang cursing under his breath and wondering if the real one will even show up. Mina informing him another awakening application came in today and asking if he'd like to come along. Team leader Gwang agreeing that they need to hit the pavement and if it's the right person they'll bring them into the elite team no matter what, and shower them with every benefit the Awakening Management Department can offer. Meanwhile, officers from the department arriving at Bong's house as Bong frantically cleans and prepares before hearing a knock and a voice announcing they're from the Awakening Management Department. Bong panicking internally because they're here, opening the door and greeting Gwang and Mina while apologizing for the cramped space and inviting them in. Gwang introducing himself as team leader Jian Gwang from the Awakening Management Department, and explaining that manager Mina is also a player and encouraging Bong to ask her anything. Bong noticing Mina and immediately getting more nervous because there's a woman here too. Mina politely greeting him as Bong introduces himself again as Bong Juhyuk, only for Mina to suddenly step very close to him, Bong freezing as she stares straight at him and asks a question that makes his heart stop. It's you, isn't it? The S++, leaving Bong completely shocked.